pleasure here to be hosting this event. Oh, we're just going live now. Hi everyone, welcome to Herstory's 4th birthday party. It's a melting pot gathering with a wonderful collection of poets, musicians, storytellers and activists. And today's a really special day because it's not only Herstory's 4th birthday, but it's also Africa Day. And to mark this special occasion, I'm wearing my Maasai headdress, which I got back in Kenya a few years ago, and my African necklace, I hope you can see it, and all my jewellery in honour of this special day. And I didn't realise at the time when I invited all the speakers, but it just happens that they're all from the African continent. It's a real treat for bringing stories from my favourite continent on the planet. It's the most diverse, spectacular experience to visit. I'd highly recommend it if you ever get the chance to go. Really stunning. So today is also the anniversary of Repeal the 8th, the referendum, which took place on Herstory's 2nd birthday, and there's lots to celebrate. So it's a Monday, but it's a pretty magical Monday. I just want to introduce you to the theme. So just to rewind back to where it all came from, I had a very early introduction to multicultural Ireland and what's possible. When I was a little girl, my dad had a subscription to the National Geographic. So I would wait by the post box for the National Geographic to arrive. And that's where I really got my introduction to what it really meant to be a woman, I suppose, but also what it meant to be human. That we are from such a diverse, multicultural, I suppose, species. For want of a better word. And from there, I went to Wilson's Hospital School in 2001. It's 20 years ago now. And would you believe, in the middle of nowhere in rural Ireland, I was in this fabulous, magical school. There was only 400 students, but 6 continents were represented. There was nobody there from Antarctica or the Arctic, but we had all the 6 other continents represented and 21 countries. It was just the most fabulous melting pot experience. There's a richness and a diversity, and I suppose an inspiration that I take from being in a multicultural community. I personally thrive in those environments. So it was wonderful to return back to Ireland, having been abroad for 7 years at the end of 2013, to discover that my hometown Mullingar was now becoming more and more increasingly multicultural. It's a really exciting time to be Irish. But I know there's a lot of challenges facing the immigrants who are coming to Ireland, and we have a lot to learn about integration and inclusion. Obviously huge challenges with the direct provision services, the Magdalene laundries of our generation when you think about it. So it's early days, it's really exciting. I just rewinding back to Herstory's 1st birthday party. There was a fabulous event called Africa Rising. It was a new global movement to amplify African culture all around the world. And I was the only person, would you believe, in attendance at AkiDwA, which is a fantastic service for migrant women based in Dublin. And it was such a beautiful, profound experience. And around the same time, actually, we had a Herstory event. It was the first culture night event that we hosted. And I had programmed 2 wonderful international speakers, Fatah Al-Tamimi, who I believe she's watching the event live tonight, a very good friend of mine from Palestine, and a wonderful Kenyan woman called Catherine Wero. She founded Dotoba. It's a migrant enterprise support service for women from Africa and all around the world. And they both spoke brilliantly at the event. And friends came up to me at the end of the event and they said to me, "It's so fantastic to hear their stories. We just don't hear stories from diverse cultures around the world." And this is coming from 2 friends of mine, Amy and Sean, I hope you're tuning in, who are very culturally savvy. They spend, they're very active in the arts cultural scene in Dublin. And they said this to me, it just struck me as like, oh, come on, Ireland, we have to raise our game. I know we're newly multicultural, but there's just so much, I think, to be gleaned, to be gained. We can thrive so much more when we give the stage to these wonderful, diverse voices. So what we did was then earlier this year, well, it actually started last year, a little seed hatched. We decided to move the Herstory Light Festival to Bridget's Bay. And a very dear friend of mine, Susan Quirk, she said to me, Melanie, whatever you do, don't drop Nullag na Mon, because we originally had the Light Festival in Nullag na Mon. And what happened then was myself and Caitlin Hannah, our fantastic researcher and project manager, we were together interviewing Ellie Kisyombé at her offices in the Irish Refugee Council in Dublin. And this beautiful idea landed, perfect idea for Nullag na Mon. Why don't we bring it into the 21st century and make it a multicultural, diverse event? Because to be human is to fundamentally to connect through storytelling, through migration, first and foremost to migrate, to tell stories, to share food, to share music. It's who we are, and I think that's the beautiful thing about the pandemic is we're remembering that now. You know, it's back to the basics, back to what really makes us tick. It's not capitalism and consumerism, and working like lunatics, you know, and drinking too much coffee and whatever else. You know, this is really it's a beautiful time to reconnect with friends and family. And I'm eating really good food and cooking more than I normally would, and listening to music and dancing around my house and reconnecting with my friends actually from all around the world who I hadn't had the chance to connect with in a while, including my good friend in Kenya. So many blessings to be had in moments like this when we get a chance to stop and reflect. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to our first speaker of the night, who is Ellie Kisyombé, and she's going to talk about our table and share a bit of her story. Please welcome Ellie. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. 1 minute. Yeah, because I was looking at it that I was backstage. So I was just waiting for time. Sure, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. You know, I've been baking while you've been talking. I was like, okay, let her talk. Let me make my banana bread. So I managed to do that. And happy birthday, Herstory. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good.
Great to be celebrated with you, Ellie.
Yeah, great to be celebrated with you too.
Not quite the same when we're all cooking a feast together, huh?
Yeah. Sure. I was looking forward to cook. I was looking forward to cook tonight. So anyway, next time. But I've just made a banana bread anyway, so maybe it might be out before we leave, so I can show you guys what I've been making.
Banana bread.
Yeah, sure.
Delicious. Sure. Mm-hmm. So tell me how you came to Ireland.
Yeah, so you know, like I moved Malawi to Ireland, over here to Ireland to seek asylum, and that's what I did. You know, like it was a long journey, not an easy journey to actually make to leave Malawi. You know, despite all the reasons that home is sweet, you know, but sometimes when home become a mouth of shark, you know, you actually make that decision. It wasn't an easy decision looking back then, and do I say I regret it? Not really. I don't have any regrets. I'm happy. I'm in Ireland. The best thing is I've been accepted to, you know, to be able to live in Ireland with my children. That's the most important thing. But also looking back then, you know, like thinking about Malawi, like I just returned to Malawi after many years of living in Ireland. It wasn't as easy to actually get there. It was a very, very emotional journey, and also like losing a lot of family members. But you know, like for me, it also something like, you know, part of my healing. So I felt like not quite enjoyed the journey, but I felt like that's something that I needed to do. And yeah, so like I mean, there is so much that made me to live back home, you know, and like where I am now, it's actually good to talk it now and then, but some of them are traumatic and, you know, like distressing situations. But you know, I can just say like the main reason was to move over here to Ireland and seek asylum. I mean, for the better safety of my family, and also the opportunity for my kids, thinking my kids could grow in a very different and a very peaceful environment. So that's the most important thing. Yeah.
And Ellie, since you arrived here, you've achieved so much. Like, you're absolutely extraordinary. You're the first person to run for office whilst living in direct provision.
Yeah, exactly.
I read actually a brilliant piece by Kathy Sheridan, and she made the point that although you weren't allowed to do paid work, You founded a social enterprise that employed 20 other people.
Yeah.
And talk about proving how the system doesn't work. You're absolutely such an inspiration to me.
Yeah, you know, like even me sitting down every day and looking what I've done, you know, like I'm a human being. Sometimes I can get defeated by emotions and even surroundings. But in a reality, when I sit down and look deeper, not even only look deeper, but also, do you just, can I just this one? Yeah, sure.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready, Grace, and I'll be there like 7:20. Yeah? Yeah, sure. Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye.
It's quite Ellie's attention because she's also international and Colin McGorman,
yeah? Tonight I'll be flipping, so yeah, so just bear with me.
Even 10 minutes, huh?
Yeah, so like to just be where I am here and, you know, like through my surroundings and looking for the things that I've actually done and I've actually achieved, and not sometimes just only do like on a mouthpiece, but, you know, like to actually sit down and go through like receipts, we call it receipts to things that I've done. Sometimes I don't even like know how I've managed to do that, because even now I've managed to get out of direct provision, and I'm now trying to find the way of moving out and expanding myself. And even finding out that I'm really struggling than the time I was in direct, because when I was in direct provision, if I just wake up and say, this has to get done today, and that will get done today, even if there is so much struggles, I will get through with it. So like it's a privilege that it's me that I've actually done that. The journey has not ever ever easy, and I'm not even sure that it's gonna get easier as I move along from now. But it's just to have that determined, and also when you have a passion about something, I always advise people to say, like, you know, everything that you want to do in life, make sure that there is a piece of you in it. Don't do something because you are following or you are doing something that you couldn't do. I'm a very nice, stubborn person, like in a nice way. You know, like stubborn in a nice way. People can categorize it in any way they want. It's the opinion that they have. But sometimes I always feel like that's also something that the motto that has always kept me, because like I'm a woman that I have principles. Like I live by principles, and I live between black and white. And when the white shows the light, no matter however things can get in my way, I'll follow that light. And no matter how hard it can get, I'll go through with that. So that's the person that I am.
Absolutely extraordinary. And tell us about how our table came about.
Yeah, so our table came about 2014, 2015. 2014, I should say, end of 2014. And at that time, I was volunteering with Irish Refugee Council. And at that time, I was almost like maybe going towards to my end of a contract, and not even going end of contract, but I had also done a lot of work, like campaigning for like for asylum seeker, because at that time when I was going into that, the Irish Refugee Council wanted an asylum seeker to be there to actually done that campaign. So I was so privileged that I was really lucky to land to that job. To be honest with you, God willing, and God can God trust me with this, there was a little that you could do. And also for me, it was just an opportunity that landed at the right time in the right place. You know what I mean? I just felt like there were other people that did the same thing that I did. They find it very difficult in their own way. But for me, I actually look at it as something that I say, no, I can do this in a different way. I think the best for me was the platform that I was given. Yeah. And I felt that I could use that platform to something that could be very, very beneficial. And I can even use it to even help and highlight a lot of issues around that. And that's what I did. So I used that opportunity to get out, like come up with campaigns and all of that. Sometimes the Irish Refugee Council, they'll tell me like, oh, Ellie, take it easy, calm down, like we don't have like funding, and even these things doesn't even have to go there. They had to do what they had to do. But you know what? The best thing, like I had that, right? And I was allowed to use that opportunity to get out and spread the word. And through that, that's how I connected to many communities, like connected to students in universities, people outside. I was in the streets handing in leaflets. I was in the campaigns meeting. I was all over. I was everywhere that I could be. And even in the first place, it was uninvited, right? I'll just go there and, like, do what I have to do. Go there, do what I have to do. But it paid off. So in 2014, end of 2014, it's when I met Michelle Damode, who is a good friend of mine. Now, at that time, she was a business lady and she owns few cafes in Ireland. And she had heard about asylum seekers not being able to cook and do their own thing. So we were introduced by by that time, my then boss, she approached our then boss, Sue Conlan. And at that time, my supervisor was Caroline Reed. So I was introduced by Caroline Reed to her after Sue spoke to me about her. So I was like, okay, take it in. And me and Michelle, we sat down. She brought a chocolate cake. And that's how it started. And we had started talking. She started giving me her background. And I'm also coming from a very, very foodie background. Like, if real people that knows me from Malawi, they'll be like, this is Ellie and this is where she's coming from. So, and I saw a lot of opportunity with that. And also being able to get people from men and women from direct provision to come out in a public space, and also being able to actually use this platform to actually talk and release their stress and volunteer. And that was a big thing for me. We started cooking around Dublin in community centers, inviting people, eat the food, people love the food, and then bringing people in direct provision. People in direct provision, this is the space. People cried, people talked. It was like a therapy session. And then from there, we moved to now pop-up cafes, which we did. We made one in the Temple Bar in the Project Arts in 2015, early 2015. That was massive. We fed over 700 people. We didn't even know how we managed to do that, right? And from there, I can't believe from there, that was just the start of everything. And we moved from kitchen to kitchen. And then we set up like a 3-month pop-up in Project Art from September to December in 2016. And that was like a takeoff. And through that, I was introduced by Michelle Damodi. She also spoke to Darina Allen, like, Ellie and Darina had been following us. And, Ellie can come there. And Darina said, yeah, she can come for internship. And then I went there for internship. In 3 days in internship, Darina decided to give me the whole training. So like, that was just like a bonus to what I actually had. So, and I did my course there, my 3 months, the full study course. And after that, I stayed over and do a bit of cooking. And then I came back. And when I came back, Michelle wanted to go to school. And I was like, Michelle, I've got this. So yeah, since then up to now, we've actually done a lot of excessive work. Like, we've been involved in festivals, like catering, and being able to cook around the country, and also set up our own line of products. So so it's a journey. 1 minute.
Oh, she's gone again. So Ellie recently launched a new collection of products. They will be soon available to buy on her website, ourtable.ie.
So I didn't just say, but I brought you some products so I can show you guys.
Actually, specifically, the proceeds are going to educate.
Yeah, so we came up with our products.
Yummy.
Yeah, so I had to.
Sauces. So saucy.
Yeah, so we came up with the product. So yeah. So since then we've been doing great, and I can't say like I regret every part of it, to be honest. I'm so happy that we've achieved that, and we're still going. And although 2020 has let us down, but I'm hoping that it will be there will be a light at the end of this tunnel.
There will be. Remember the day before the lockdown was announced, the two of us were on the phone together that night, hatching a plan to a new outreach program to direct provision centres. Because for the Irish public here who are tuning in today, most people aren't aware that you can actually go and meet the people in direct provision. You can bring them out, invite them to join you in your local communities, local activities. If you're a facilitator, I know a lot of my friends here who are on the call today, they are facilitators in dance and meditation, yoga. You can offer your skills to support to the people who live in direct provision. And there's ways to help them. I know everybody wants to see the end of this absolutely abominable system, but there are ways to reach out and make the people feel very much a part of our local communities. And you shared, Ellie, a really interesting insight. So our table was inspired by the fact that people weren't allowed to cook in direct provision, which is just
exactly. It was the need. It was the campaign to end direct provision, and we didn't want just to campaign, but we wanted to actually do things very, very different, and we wanted to actually not very different, but we wanted to practically show demonstrate to the government how things can be done. There are things that the government could have done so easily without even making it very complicated.
In the most difficult circumstances, Ellie, you proved that, But what I love what you said, you told us at the event with Karina Allen that a number of direct provision centres now have cooking facilities thanks to your campaigning. So hats off. But one of the big challenges is the fact that the people who live there still only have a tiny allowance every week.
Yeah, so, it is. I mean, there are many. There is a little that have actually changed, and there are many things, and we are a long way to go from where we are. But the fortunate part is, like, at least we've moved a little from where we have been. So that's the most important part. And I think without the campaign of people like myself and other people, I don't think we would have been here. And I also it's not like something because it's mine, but let's be honest. Like, I think the lights, they come of our table, like our table took with a hit. And I think with the way that we structured the campaign, a lot of people related because there was food there. So there was connection there. Because what we have to understand is there is also another way of telling stories. And when we tell stories with trauma, with anger, with bitter, people don't want to hear that. So there was love there. There was a connection. There was a bonding there. And I can tell you, there are things that they've actually started. I know over 20 people that I've worked with before around direct provision. That at that time Ireland was quiet. Some of them, they've come up with their own organization. Some of them, they've write books. Some of them, they've actually come into ideas that in those days there were people that just attended our table. You know what I mean? So for me to see that truly in real life, because I've engaged with those people, I've sat in many boards. I'm like, God, this is beautiful.
It's working already, and it's early days, Ellie. I'm so looking forward to collaborating with you now over the coming years and months.
I am really looking forward. I am really looking forward to that. So I'm gonna flip. I'm gonna flip in 2 minutes.
We're all fighting over you.
And I'll come back.
Chat to you later. Yeah.
I'm coming in now. Yeah, sure. 2 minutes.
Thanks, Ellie. So next up we have the wonderful Farah Elle. Funny actually, looking back, I've had a number of friends say to me, whatever you're doing at Molly, the next time you do Herstory, I tuned in to her live broadcast and she with her presence, stunning presence, and her voice, the depth of wisdom in her lyrics. She writes music in Arabic and English. She's from Libya. Potentially we get more insight. It's her life and she's from James Island, and I hear her baby album on Facebook. I think that's the one. It's important. Oh, you got time problems there, Hold a second now. We're going to try and sort out the sound problems. That better? Just by pure chance, I just closed a few tabs there. Probably fighting for attention. Okay, are we ready for Farah?
Yes. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good. It's nice to virtually meet you.
I'm flex done an event like this before?
I did not hear a thing you said apart from the last sentence, which was
It's
done an event like this before. So I think you asked me if I've ever done an event like this before.
No. Oh. Is it back again?
Okay.
Let's just see if I can see. How's the sound? Oh dear.
It's all right. Can everyone hear me?
It's acting the mic.
That's okay. I can hear you when you're talking.
You
know, it's very typical when you describe the sound not working.
So tell us, when is your album?
Okay, I didn't hear you properly there. Something about my album. I heard the word album. I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, it's nearly there. I'm so excited.
Isn't it? Amazing. Do you have a launch date in mind? I suppose the pandemic is probably thrown a spanner in the works there, has it?
Yes. The funniest thing is my original launch.
Oh, your sound your end is really bad.
Can you hear me?
Oh dear. We're having
okay?
This is not great, huh?
Ah, the internet. It is what it is, my friend.
The joys of technology, huh?
Hmm?
Maybe we should turn our laptops on and off. That seems to solve most difficulties.
Yeah, exactly. Seriously. I can hear you well. I can hear you well now.
Can you? Okay, I can't hear you all that well, but maybe everybody else can hear you and it's just me. Okay. Oh, Jim said he lost you as well. Oh dear.
Oh. I can hear now.
Maybe if we close my screen. Okay, everybody can hear me. Sorry about this, guys. Maybe if we close my screen and then just your screen, it might work okay. What do you think?
Yeah, let's give it a go. Hey. All right. So if it's just me now, and I can't hear Mel, I'm hoping everybody can hear me. I am just gonna go ahead and start. My sound is a bit dodgy. Not ideal. I do have like a fancy microphone set up, so it would be great if that worked. Okay. Sound is awful. Not great. Okay. How is that now? Is that better? Okay. Yeah. Turn my tech on and off. Mute off. How's that, everybody? Is that better? Yay! Oh, no. Okay, not ideal. Oh, internet.
Hi there, everybody. Sorry about the technical difficulties. We're going to move on to Karina first, and then hopefully Farah will use the old turning on and off button trick, and her tech will be working properly again. So just to introduce Karina Tynan, I had the blessing to meet Karina at the Bard Mythology Summer School 2 years ago, and she's done a really remarkable thing. She's rewritten Irish mythology, all the great epic tales, from the feminine perspective. So it's a feminine version of the story. And her story was, God, it was only a few months old when I was introduced to the myth of Cesar. I bet you've never heard of Cesar before. Well, would you believe the origin story was 3 origin stories of Ireland, but one of them is actually the story of the first immigrant to Ireland, which is very much aligned with our theme tonight. And origin stories are very important. I worked under an anthropologist in Kenya, and she explained to me the importance of origin stories. In a tribal culture, they'll underpin their whole social, cultural, political structure under the origin story. So it's really the first story you, in theory, should learn, but of course in Irish mythology. And all three of the origin stories are goddess stories, very empowering women. So they would be sidelined or airbrushed or overlooked for whatever reason, but they're not the toxic feminine Maeve, and they're not the docile, sweet Neve from Tiernan. So it's great to reinstate Cesar back to her rightful place. And nobody does Cesar justice like Karina does. So I'm absolutely thrilled to have her here tonight. And we're actually really lucky because she's waiting for the birth of her grandchild at the moment. So it was a bit touch and miss as to whether we were going to have her or not. So it's a real treat to have you here. Thank you, Karina.
Hi, Melanie.
Are you ready? How are you?
I am. We'll chat for a second here just to see, is my sound okay there?
Perfect.
Is it? Okay. Okay. Well, you asked me to say a little bit about myth before I read, for you. So I suppose, you mentioned the Bard Summer School. That's where I suppose my interest in all things fabulous was sort of solidified in a way, if you can call it that. Went to an island called Clare Island to look at mythology from its and to find its contemporary relevance. And obviously, as you know, Melanie, it's a wonderful few days on
extraordinary experience. Yeah.
Anyway, how I ended up writing these myths was that I came back one year, a lot of years ago, and we had just been doing the Children of Lear, which is like, and I knew the story quite well from my childhood, and in the last words of the stories were, and you can still hear her wailing on a windy night in Ireland. You can still hear Ifrah wail on a windy night in Ireland. And basically she had cast the children into swans because of her jealousy. But having spent a week with the myth, I felt that she got a really raw deal. And so basically I just decided to write the story again, but from her perspective, and that gave me some solace. And since then I've written a play about the same person, or a story, and kind of with a modern twist to it. Looking for producers if anybody would like to. Anyway, it's like as if that's what you are doing with Herstory, is sort of bringing back what has been banished, what couldn't be tolerated, maybe a very angry, very hurt, very jealous woman or whatever, and something could cause, like the Irish Medea, if you want, the few differences. But basically, I think that's what you're doing, bringing back what wasn't tolerated in earlier times. Anyway, I think. Is that enough about that before I read? Is that all right?
Yeah, I think it's spot on. Yeah. You answered the question. When we start talking about the bard and mythology, we could be here all night as well. But I really just have to thank you, because what you're doing is absolutely extraordinary, and we're going to keep sharing your work and the link to your website, because it's essential. It's key. We grew up with most of these myths. Many of them, but not told through the feminist perspective. And they did. It's funny actually that Children of Lear triggered you, because it wrote from us, and I just rejected that myth, from its treatment of women. Like I just couldn't, never really engaged with me. I resisted it. So thank you for doing it just at last. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to tell this retelling about, I called it Shaping the Clay, and it's about the lady Cesar, who was the leader of the first people to come to Ireland. It is said she was the granddaughter of Noah. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. Who refused her passage on his ark because she was not part of a pair, is what I've said. Maybe that's the truth or not, but she didn't get to go with Noah anyway. And so Cesar made her own journey across many oceans with 49 women and 3 men to become the first inhabitants of Ireland. So I keep an eye on those notes to make sure you're hearing me. Please let me know if I go all funny or anything. Yeah. Okay. I was the first person to set foot on this land. My feet sank into moss, deep and green, under trees, alight and ancient with birdsong. Fish leapt like rainbows in the river. Forests lurked with wolves. The caves whistled. The sea boomed. And nothing that I saw needed anything I could bring. But I stayed and I listened to the air, the water, the hills, to every stream and every mountain. I wondered at the peculiar slant of light, shining half-light I had never seen before, warning me, telling me that my first step would violate flawlessness. My second would be the beginning of a path that would disturb perfection. As it travelled into story and tragedy. I had come from Merrow. In that place it was declared that we had vexed the God who said we were his creation. He prophesied a flood would come, a flood of wrath on godless people. He spoke all this to his chosen one, Noah, who was my grandfather. He instructed him, build an ark great enough to rise above a flood and bring along only mortals free from sin, man, woman, and beast, to go in pairs to procreate anew. Noah set to the task of making choices. Righteous man and righteous woman, animals in full health, tame and wild went too. Cream of the crop, the wealthy, the strict, the predictable. I was left to find my own way, and so, like many, I forsook Noah's God for the sake of life itself. I went on with my own counsel. Cesar made a boat. Cesar set herself free from restraining goodness. Cesar made her fate. Cesar is my name. And those I brought with me were 49 sisters. 3 men came too, so we could make our stories become a people. I told them to bring their own sacred accompaniments, talismans to witness their souls, for they would need a second seeing on such a quest. The God we knew had forsaken us, but there were other myths to turn to. So, separate and together we made our way, not knowing what fate would bring. A long, long way we went, forsaking the gold and iron of Merrow, the beauty of the golden suns and shadows of the Tyrrhenian Sea. For 18 days on the Caspian, lost and almost dead of heat. On then to the Cimmerian Sea, passing by all the wealth of people gathered to point us out from the comfort of their dogmas. On and on through land, river and sea, to Asia Minor and along by the Alps to Spain, and on high waves from there we sighted an untouched place. A gentle island free from beasts of greed and mountains of fire. And the promise was fulfilled in the seeing. I smiled when I saw its shores, as if they were part of me. Bloody phone is ringing. I'll cut it for a second. So sorry. And the promise was fulfilled in the seeing. I smiled when I saw its shores, as if they were part of me. My mouth became a wave crisply whitened, and it made me fresher to look upon. The sun was setting, and the colour of the world was changing as we approached. We rejoiced. A promise had been fulfilled that had suffered chance all along the way. We pressed our feet into the land, then stopped in sacred naming, for to name it as we were on it. Oh. I'll have to call you back. I'll have to call you back. Okay, bye. Okay, this is a right mess, isn't it? The phone, this is the thing about bloody online. One of these days we'll get back to seeing each other. We pressed our feet into the land, then stopped in sacred naming. For to name it, as we were on it, was all we would ever do to harm it. We came upon 3 sister rivers who came together before they met the sea. We saw it as a sign that we would split our group into 3, like sisters who separate only ever to meet again. The men who joined us were Fintan, who went with 17 women. 17 also went with Bith, and 16 with Lyra. And though Lyra did complain that the numbers were not equal, he did his best for them and died doing his best for them there in Ord Lauren, called after Lyra, who was the first man ever to die in Ireland. The women who had gone with him came back to me. I divided us again into equal numbers. 25 went north with Bit, 25 with Fintan, and we made our way as best we could, for alas, upon the men were the tasks of many. And so Bit died too in Slieve Beha, and the women buried him there to make a stone heap they called Slieve Beg. They returned to me again, and because we were 50 again in number, Bit and Lyra were dead. Fintan forsook us, for he saw with his second sight what we did not. I see it now, but at that time my second sight was blinded by a woman's love for a man, as I had been loved by Fintan MacBocra on the soft moss of Ireland. Then without him, I went to cool Sesra, and my heart burst open, for without sun for my earth I was lost. For all of my quest, though it had been full of toil, though I had weathered storms, though I had been hungry and thirsty and cold, nothing could help me to find a way to stay in this world without my love. And so I died into the land, and in this land I stayed. It was love that was the death of me. It is love that lies here still. The women buried me there and named the place I lay Cairn Sesra. And as I went into the clay, the birds went silent. And to this day, when you hear a bird silence in the daytime, it is for me on my dying day. Fintan, in parting from me, had also parted from the world as he knew it. But he did not die. He was wise and went to join the land as a changeling would, from fish to fowl to beast, from river to lake, over Bunsuvna, over Slieve Beha, naming it to Cain Febret, to Mixin, left handwise from Shannon and eastward to Tool Tinna and over Loch Derg, flowing through streams, down mountains, being with the land, the water, the fish, the bird and the beast. After that, the futures of my sisters ended as the flood of the world followed us and washed them all along the way, along with the creed of every man and every woman. What was left underwater were the names on the land, the spirit of Fintan flowing through it, and I lying in it, in love, waiting to tell it. I departed then from thought and mind a while, but stories rise like rocks in the ground, so still I am in places where silence can be heard, where everything is connected and everything is life, where rivers form like veins in sisterhood to share their water and their flowing. Look, the sun is behind the clouds. It's warmer than it's been for a while. You can see me emerge from the ploughed earth in girl-shaped wisps. Today is right for it. Though I'm always here, I'm not always seen as shapely as this. He has called me out. His rays warm me. The clouds shade me. It is perfect for me to be seen like this. The wisps of air dancing in the earth are me. I am dancing this island's dance, shaping the very clay. Everything in front of you is united and drawn together by me. Look, they're pairing as I speak. The stallion is in the mare, the bull is in the cow, the fox is in the vixen, after her calling him all night. The sun is in the ground, making her dance, as I continue to watch the worm air the soil of Cairn Sesra, having named it with my mortal death. Thank you. Okay, that's it. Michael,
such a
I'm
powerful
so
piece.
sorry. I'm so
Don't worry, our speakers are very popular tonight. I feel like we're spoiled rotten to have you. The two of you now. We'll do the phone's hopping.
The phone. I have a
I
landline, right? And it's for one friend who lives in California. It's the only time, and she rings tonight. Anyway.
It's all good. Don't worry at all. Sure, look, it kept us all the suspense, the momentum.
Well, I have to say now, it broke my flow. It broke my flow. So
I know,
so I'm disappointed, but it's okay. It's okay. Hopefully you got.
There'll be many more opportunities because I know you've been. How many have you rewritten now? How many myths?
Oh, quite a lot. I'm one story of the Tawn, but it wouldn't be like the big thick Tawn, like it's. Yeah, I've loads. Maybe 20. I don't know, something.
Is it time for a publisher? That's the dream. I'm looking forward to holding the first hard copy. Yeah. I can see now in the comments here that Jim is really impressed with what you've done, so it'll be great to hear his take on Sesser as well. And
it will.
Really huge respect for what you're doing. Yeah. It's absolutely pivotal.
Thank you for listening. I have no idea who else is listening.
No, we don't. It's
crazy.
We haven't posted Facebook Live. Yeah.
I promise I'm great live.
So intimate about it as well, isn't there? There's something very beautiful about Facebook Live, but you can't beat meeting up in the flesh. And I'm looking forward to the next summer school.
Oh yeah, so am I. So badly. Yeah.
Next year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Super. Okay. Thank you, Karina.
Thank you.
So next up we have Jim Fitzpatrick, the legendary Celtic artist, who's been one of Herstory original godfathers. He's been involved in the project since the first year, very generously donating his art to the cause. We've been illuminating the landmarks across Dublin with his works. He's never come to see them in the flesh yet. It's very hard to get Jim at any event, so we're really spoiled to have him at this event tonight. Jim, are you there? Where are you?
Oh, I'm back. I'm on. Good stuff. I enjoyed it.
I'm in your studio.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on. Can you see me properly? I'm just readjusting my screen.
Can you give us a little tour? Or is the laptop fixed?
It's on my desktop, but it's a mess here.
I've been there. I know your studio. Yeah, it's spectacular. You're so well read. Like, you really do your research.
Anyway, I'll give you a rough idea. But no, I enjoyed that. That was really interesting. And I enjoyed Ellie too, talking about direct provision, because without going way off the subject, I'll talk about Cesar and the goddess in a moment. My first experience was of direct provision. I suppose you could call it rescue, except we weren't rescuing them. They rescued us. I was playing in Herbert Park about 25 years ago. We were getting old. I played till I was 68, so we were getting even in our early 50s.
Yeah.
And our game was dying, and one of the guys was a teacher who got assigned to teaching the direct provision detainees up in Marlborough Road, which was a centre then.
Yeah.
Overnight, our game was revitalised, and we played on for 20 more years. Wow. We met every refugee from every part of the world you could imagine. And it was quite extraordinary. Most of the guys that played football with us were West African, Ivory Coast, Ghana. There was a lot of footballers. There were a couple of Afghanis who were expelled up to Donegal, where they thought there might be mountains or something. But they were fabulous people, and they made our game. And there was only one racist among all the players. And he ended up with one of his friends from the Direct Provision Centre going to all Shelburne games proudly together. He just never had really met someone of a different culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my experience of direct provision. They were the most fantastic people, and I enjoyed every moment I spent with them. And the only thing I miss in my life is football.
I know, because your foot. How is your foot?
But anyway, I'm limping now, but it's from a bike crash. It's not from football. Anyway, Cesar. I have a drawing.
What's Miss retelling?
Yeah, show you Cesar. Hold on.
There you go.
That's
Jim, what year did you do your painting of Cesar?
I did mine, 1992.
Wow.
I originally wrote about her in a book I wrote that went so vast numbers called The Book of Conquests.
Okay, yeah.
Before I pulled it from the publisher. Don't want to go near them again. But the first person to come to Ireland was Cesar, according to our mythology, which is really reliable like the Bible. It'll mythologize everything, but there's a fundamental truth beneath it. Okay, and it's real events, you might say, glorified and people deified. So the most important figure in Celtic and Irish mythology I would describe as Fintan, or Phineas, the seer, who eventually was the man who, you might say, came with one of three men, supposedly, who came with Cesar, daughter of Noah, or daughter of Bit, granddaughter of Noah. And the influence of the storyteller and the seer Fintan on Celtic mythology is immense, because he's the only person who comes right through reincarnations up to present times. I'm sitting in an area in Sutton, and the area I'm sitting in was a school called St. Fintan's.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
The saint as well.
Fintan eventually told his story to a man called St. Finian, who is also now St. Fintan. So this is where they all get mixed up. So when Fintan was dying, after being reincarnated over decades as a hawk, a salmon, a boar, a deer, and he told his story to Fintan of the Church of the Bells, and he recorded the story. And that's how we have all this material still. So I love all that whole area, but I'm happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Today is the anniversary of Herstory. It's also the anniversary of Yes.
I know.
And
I got a birthday party for Herstory in the second year because I was busy partying, celebrating.
Not many people have that one. It's the top.
I think I have the two, the Yes and the top. Yeah.
That was given to me by Cecily Brennan for a poster I did of, and I'll show you a countess.
There she is, the warrior herself.
I put the Repeal the 8 button on her tunic out of sheer mischief. And Cecily Brennan of Artists for Repeal the 8, or Artists Against the 8, whatever we were. And they used that as their poster and sold it. I don't know if they made any money, but certainly I was proud to see my work.
You're fantastic. You're such an activist, Jim. The fire.
Well, I was thinking my mother would have been so proud of that little poster. It's the least famous poster I've probably done. But the fact is, she was dying in 1984 in the nursing home run by lovely nuns. They were amazing, but the Repeal the 8 argument was going mad. And I was one of the people involved, right, to stop this 8th Amendment. Yeah. And my mom said, "Have you got a poster? I put it up behind me." And I said, "Ma, you won't. Pull the plug if you do." You know what I mean? But that's what she's like.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
One of Ireland's original feminists, so you are. And I was just reflecting back, Jim, like when you were doing your goddess art paintings, like the Magdalene laundries were still open. Like, and I remember as a little girl, I remember seeing these incredible art. I mean, is that what it means to be an Irish woman, you know? I mean, they're so in their power, you know, they really own their sexuality. They're so rooted in it. It's just like the true sovereign woman. But at a time when women were so suppressed still, to think about it. Before I was born, Jim, I'm only 33.
Can you imagine this? My mother was deserted by my father when I was 5. So technically, she was a single mother. That made her a target for every bloody pedo, as I call them. You know, the cruelty men, the ISPCC guys who rounded up kids for the lads. And my mother was well aware of it. And one day when they called the house, she gave one a whack. Now, she was a very sophisticated woman. They didn't like people with posh accents because targets kind of got a bit confused there. But the legacy of those people, and I remember my mother pointing out the Magdalene Laundry, but I had a personal experience with the Magdalene Laundries because I always went, I'm still a Christian, I'm still a Catholic. I just don't buy the bullshit. I remember walking in the Corpus Christi procession up in the Whitehall Church, sorry, not Whitehall Church, up in the, what's going to have my Drumcondra. And all these beautiful young women, they were only, like, some of them were only 13, 14. Remember, I was about 11, right? So I was in awe of these, and so was my mate. And we tried to make them laugh while we were sitting there waiting to go on the procession, right? Because their heads would be down, they'd be all veiled. You know what I mean? And we used to do this, like, we didn't know what they were. And when I was telling my mum the story, she said, well, they're regarded as fallen women. And I went, what's that? And she said, oh, they've fallen on hard times, but they're good people. They're just, you know, we had no idea how cruel that system was, even then. But my mother was staunch in any attempt to take me away from her. I was guarded by my aunts and by a woman who I called my granny, who was my granny's sister. So I grew up in a house full of women, and nobody messed with me. It's that simple. So I've always had that thing in my head. I can't right the wrongs of centuries, but at least we're living in an era where women have equal rights. Now, don't be fooled. We have a long way to go before they have proper legal rights. But legally, they're equal. But attitudes will take another 50 years to change.
Yeah. It's a lot of conditions that operate so subtly as well. That's what I found. Like when I started Herstory, like I suppose my rose-tinted glasses were smashed overnight, and then, well, I became an angry feminist, and I had to find some positive expression for this anger. I had to alchemize it, or it was going to eat me up. So I made a decision to create a compassionate feminist movement, and I'm delighted to say that 4 years later, Herstory has as many godfathers as godmothers, and I found that men are equally as supportive of Herstory as women. Actually, I've experienced more toxic femininity than toxic masculinity, which is something we need to talk about too, because I'm kind of fed up now with women pointing the blame at men all the time. The shadows across the whole gender spectrum, and if we're going to move beyond those shadows, we have to acknowledge them. I think you get caught up in pointing the finger and blaming, and you just spinning.
Most hassle my mother got, unfortunately, from other women, not the people we lived with.
That's the truth of it.
And there were issues there. God knows what they were about. I don't know. I think it was over my mom's boyfriend. We had priests calling at the door because she was reported, and of course they ran into the wrong guy. Even at 15, I was the next Christian doctrine, apologetics, diuretic, whatever you call them. I was going to say diuretics.
Wow.
But anyway, I would take these guys on and argue, and they ended up as I ended up with the whited sepulchre line, In other words, pristine on top and it's rotten underneath, because that's what Christ called the Pharisees. And here were two of them going for my ma. Big mistake.
Your prices, you're full of stories, Jim. I'm looking forward to having a proper catch up over a long coffee now, or a few coffees. The one of the great perks of the job is getting to spend time with you, because we could be there chatting for 5-6 hours, but you're just a treasure trove of knowledge and such a genuine, authentic champion of women. So do you want to tell everybody about the new Bridget art competition and why it took you so long to finally do a painting of Bridget?
Listen, it's not there she is, yeah.
Just 75 years. Oh, Jim, that's particularly stunning.
Well, I tell you what.
That colour version yet.
That is one of the greatest colorists in the world, a guy called Eric Hope, who's worked for Marvel Comic in DC. So I got two versions done. I got one for you guys and one for myself. Aww. So your version is by the man who invented digital coloring for comics and publication, Laverne I can never pronounce his name. Kinserly. Anyway, he does a lot of color work with me. I'm doing a series of zodiacs at the moment from old drawings, but he is the one who did the breed that we're talking about. This is from somebody else, but you get the idea.
Jim, it's funny. The first time I've seen it. Hold it back up there again. Give us a good look. Because you told me when you were drawing it was the first time ever you've drawn fire.
Yeah,
so you had to study for a whole weekend how to draw fire.
I went on the net and Googled how to draw fire. I'm not kidding.
Jim Fitzpatrick! With your extensive portfolio, you've never drawn fire before.
No, I mean, I'll show you a little bit of the fire. Hang on. There we go. Can you see it there? It is really hard to draw fire in a way that's convincing. I didn't want it dominating the picture,
No,
But there
I
you
know.
go. But I went on Google Tutors how to draw fire. It's never
That's
too
over weekend.
old
Priceless.
dogs can learn new tricks. Talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
dogs, I got company here. Can you see this lad?
Oh, the pussycat. She's gorgeous.
Just sits
Queen
there
of
and
the house.
yeah, pays attention to everybody I'm talking to.
Another goddess, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your own goddess, yeah. So
Oh,
we're
yeah.
running an art competition. Jim has very kindly donated. He's gifted us his original sketch of Bridget, which he produced very specially for the Herstory Life Festival. I've been trying to get Jim to draw Bridget for a few years now. And you said you were reluctant to do it because you've heard so many stories about her. You didn't know which story.
Well, you kind of put me on the straight and narrow. My approach to Bridget initially, when you asked me, was going to be the famous one, for throwing her cloak across the countryside.
Great story.
But the whole idea of Bridget the Healer is a really old one. And you brought that into focus for me through your powers of persuasion. And that's the route I took. And I really enjoyed it. It was so much more fun and more difficult. Like I said, I'd never drawn fire. The water in this, which I'll just show you, is kind of polluted. So it's how do I combine all these elements?
It's so beautifully done.
Try and show the goddess and perhaps the Christian saint as well, and the manifestations, Breed, Bridget. I mean, the cult of Bridget turned into a Christian cult, as St. Patrick was a genius. He never started knocking down monuments. He never started destroying images. He absorbed everything that was in Celtic beliefs and myths and legends and religion into Christianity. Like St. Anne, we have no St. Anne. She's Anu, the goddess. We have...
Oh, I didn't know that.
When you see all these wells, St. Anne's wells with all the bits of paper tied to them and cloth, that's as much a Mayan custom as it is a traveller and Irish culture. Because that's what they do as well. So there's all these interconnections with the North American Indians, with the Mayans. We don't know where it comes from, but it's there, you know. The first city that Pizarro conquered was called Cuchulainn. That's familiar, you know.
And we know that Bridget actually was a pan-European goddess. She was a unifying force across Europe. She was celebrated from Spain to Turkey, and she was a triple archetypal goddess. So when Jim said to me, how shall I portray her? I said, well, everybody does the cloak, so we have to crack her out of that box, because all the little kids in every school on this island, they make their crosses on Bridget's Day, and they tell the story of the cloak. So I said, we have to crack her out of that box. So she's a triple archetypal goddess. And what I love about Bridget is she's the embodiment of masculine and feminine energy brought into perfect harmony and balance, which is a great symbol for our time. The element of fire is the masculine, and the healing element of water is the feminine. So that's what I asked Jim to do, was to balance the two. And I thought it was very interesting that the original colorist actually did the fire as blue as well as the water, which is very healing, very soothing.
Well, my brief to him was I wanted it more mystical than real. So I said,
okay.
I don't want that fire, because he's the expert with fire for a comic called Azrael. Look, my cat is drinking my ethic water. Has he no respect at all? Look.
It's a boy, is it?
No wonder I have whiskers, because I picked that up in this drink. You know. But anyway, sorry. He took an approach to it that's very beautiful, because he's so experienced. Yeah. And he had a blue kind of electric St. Elmo's kind of fire. And I thought that was fabulous, you know?
Yeah, it's really different. Caught me by surprise. Thanks so much.
I'm dying to see what you do with it. I don't know if I'm even a judge, but I want to look in somewhere. You be the judge.
So for all of our viewers here today, we are inviting you to download the beautiful print, the drawing.
Black and white color.
Crack open all your art materials. Get doodling. It's an adult colouring competition and a children's colouring competition. There's no limit. And the best 3, selected by myself and Jim and Caitlin, the best 3 will win a signed print of the original by Jim. And we're going to light them up on the GPO the next time we do the Herstory Life Festival, which will be a real big honor. Gorgeous. It looks beautiful, didn't it? This year, it looks so stunning.
We should have a little category though for young kids. I love these young kids.
Okay.
And then my flippers, you just get one of them. I won't say who got my drawing and got a box of crayons. I went. That was the best thing I've ever seen. It was like
that's a deal, though.
It was like Jackson Pollock got hold of the paint mat. bunch and just threw them all over their drawing. It was a brilliant piece of work, you know.
Priceless. Okay, so we'll do that. We'll do a kids colouring competition and an adult colouring competition. Fantastic. Okay, Jim, I think that's everything. We could stay here talking all night, but we'll catch up soon properly on the phone.
Oh, I can't wait. It's been too long.
Future Mischief together. He's talked about Teffy as well.
We'll walk up to the Dolmen and get the vibes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that'd be fantastic. Looking forward to an old ramble around Hoth Head again. Such an honour. So thrilled to know you, Jim. Such a blessing.
I'll ask you to talk to Ellie before that, so we have banana bread when we're going up there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Glass of good coffee now from that beautiful Italian.
Yep.
In Hoth. Can't wait. Okay. Thanks so much, Jim. We'll chat again soon, yeah?
Ciao. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. So next up, we're going to try and see if Farah's got her tech working again. I know she's done live streams before and it worked fine, so fingers and toes crossed. Caitlin, are we ready for action? Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Did you use the old trick of turning it on and off again?
Oh, did wonders.
Oh, I can hear you better. The picture isn't great, but I can hear you perfectly.
You can hear me well?
Perfectly, yeah.
Perfect. I'll just take this phone call from my mom for 10 minutes, if you don't mind listening.
You're all so popular, like. That's why I actually decided to knock my phone off on airplane mode, because I thought if there's any interference with this new technology,
we're in fifth dimensional wave now. We can handle 5 conversations at once.
Honestly. So listen, tell us about your album.
Yeah, it's like really very close to being finished.
Okay.
I mean, it's all recorded and it is being produced. Somebody asked, where can I find a copy? It'll be all over everything: iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Bandcamp. It'll be everywhere when it's released. At the moment, we are just putting the finishing touches on it.
Right.
And greatness cannot be rushed. So
wow.
We'll see.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
I was going to say to you, Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak, حبيبتي. شكرا. سلام عليكم كل واحد.
Did you have a lovely celebration yesterday?
What was I doing yesterday? I actually had a really beautiful day yesterday.
Good.
Went for a really nice walk and had a picnic, and yeah, it was awesome. Thank you.
And how would you normally celebrate with your family then?
We haven't done like a proper celebration in a couple of years, so like usually you just get everyone together, have a bit of dinner. It's like Christmas vibes.
Beautiful. Okay, so next year waiting, you'll have to build up to it, huh?
Hey, what exactly? AWA is how you say like hell yeah in Arabic.
Hell yeah! So you write in Arabic and in English, and you interweave 2 languages.
Exactly. Yes.
Beautiful.
More
stunning.
So now than ever before.
Okay. And what songs are you going to sing for us today?
So I'm going to play a little medley of some new ideas mixed with some older ideas. And I'll also play a song of mine called Silk, which is all around topics around culture clash. And then I might just top it off with a little cherry on top, see what happens.
We're in for a treat. I'm thrilled the tech fix actually, because I was really looking forward to hearing you. I watched back your live streams there, and I was absolutely bewitched by your performance. It was stunning, really powerful.
Thank you. I'm not going to lie. It's totally different on the internet. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. So over to you whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'm going to go take it away. There's a piano in front of me. There it is. So I'm going to do my thing. This first song is called Farah Elle. In Arabic, that means strange boat. And I wrote this song when asked to represent the role of immigration and boats, the relationship with boats, on a show I did last summer, or was it the summer before, in Donegal. It was really awesome, actually. I did that with little John Lee and a whole other crew of heroes. So this is that. روح أنا والباب مفتوح والناس بحثوا فيه هالقارب غريب أنا حديد وأنا أمل وصح أنا غريبة وبيتي بعيدة فقلبي ثقيل لأن بيتي بعيد أرجع حبيبي لعنا الصباح توا نجيك بنهاية النهار والقمر جديد عنا الصباح توا نجيك بنهاية النهار قبل نهاية النهار قبل نهاية النهار كل يوم أنا أجيكم كل يوم أنا أجيكم نكتب هالقصة ونرقد في النهار أنا لا ندوي قلبي ثقيلة وما رقدتش كويس ليلة طويلة ليلة طويلة ليلة طويلة كل يوم أنا أجيكم كل يوم أنا أجيكم نكتب هالقصة ونرقد في النهار أنا لا ندوي قلبي ثقيلة وما رقدتش كويس من الليلة طويلة ليلة طويلة ليلة طويلة أرجع حبيبي لعنا الصباح توا نجيك بنهاية النهار القمر جديد عند الصباح توا نجيك بنهاية النهار قبل نهاية النهار قبل نهاية النهار. I'm going to clap for myself because that's where we're at right now. All right, I'm going to do Silk real quick. Thanks so much for listening and thanks for having me. And to Herstory, happy 4th birthday. Happy Africa Day. MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum, Ifrah. Thank you for the message. It's good blessings to you. Eid Mubarak. Thank you guys for listening and happy Africa Day as well. And happy repeal anniversary. Every now and then I'll have forgotten it, but I know it's in me. That peace is all I've ever wanted. Then it hits me and it's so hard to be. This cloak and all its darkness, it carries me. Oh, how it feels when it's so haunted, and it makes it hard to see what's going on beneath when it hits me. When it hits me and makes it hard to be, and it hits me. When it hits me and makes it hard to breathe. This veil of silk, what could be wrong with it? It's nothing but serene. My eyes are how you'd recognize me, because all that matters is my identity. But what if I can't see? What if I find it hard to carry on being me? And what if this could be the only gate that welcomes every single part of me? Binti Shalabi. How far can we go with all our profit, hoping that no one will see? Take me and take away our problems, and then maybe we could head out to sea. And what if this could be a solution to removing the veil that's wearing me? And all of a sudden I see that there's an ocean in the desert and it's waiting for me. Then it hits me and it then it hits me. Then it hits me and it Binti Shalabi. When it hits me. When it hits me and makes it hard to breathe, and it hits me. When it hits me and makes it hard to breathe, and it hits me. When it hits me and makes it hard to breathe, and it hits me. When it hits me and makes it hard to breathe. Cool. Thank you so much, guys. I'm actually going to wrap it up there because I can see that there's a little bit of a thing with time right now. So thank you for listening. Big thank you to Melanie and Herstory and everyone and the work that Ellie is doing and everybody and Jim and everything. Hey.
Thank you so much for that. Absolutely stunning. God, you're something. You're some force of nature, so you are. What a talent. I'm looking forward to hearing you live in person soon, huh?
Yes, yeah. Please go.
And I look forward to collaborating with you because we're planning a really big project around this theme now for the next 3 years. So there'll be lots of opportunities, lots of mischief. Wonderful. Thank you so much for having a lovely evening.
Thank you. You too. God bless.
Eid Mubarak. Bye. Who do you have up next? Bear with us now because we're having a little bit of technical glitches. Oh, is that in the row? Are that in the row? Yeah. Okay. Caroline. Hello. Are you with us? I can't hear you at all. Can you hear me? Sorry now, everyone. Just trying to get this sorted. Sorry now, Caroline has vanished, but she said she will be back in 25 minutes. She promises. So, is Ifrah there?
Yes, I am.
Hello, how are you, sweet soul?
Good, how are you?
Eid Mubarak.
Thank you. I was celebrating my own with this sweet. I don't know if you can see.
Oh, beautiful. The traditional sweets.
Yes.
What do they taste like?
Well, that is biscuit.
Okay, it's a biscuit.
So it's made home.
Mm.
And that's called halwa.
Okay.
It's just a sweet.
Gorgeous. Did you make it?
Yes, I have.
You have. Wow. Okay, fantastic. Beautiful.
So because we can't go out to celebrate Eid or go to mosque, but we have been celebrating at home.
Okay. And that's quite different, huh? Did you do a big Zoom call with all your friends and family?
Yes, some of it I did in Somalia and Ireland, and we just celebrate through Zoom call.
Yeah, but it's amazing how you can connect to people. Like, I mean, my little sister turned 8 and she had all of her siblings together thanks to Zoom, because my other sister is in Australia. So we've never all been together for her birthday before. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, there are some perks, but God, I can't wait for real hugs, real human connection. I miss it, huh? Yeah. So how are you keeping?
Good. I've been home. Basically, I'm the one who goes always out. I go shopping and all that kind of thing. So at least I've been seeing little son.
Okay, yeah. It's a big change then for you, yeah. Because you were in a really busy phase in the lockdown.
The first time since March that there was no death of coronavirus. So it's something to celebrate.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of blessings, huh?
There is. We're doing well, and I hope people will continue doing what they're doing so we can all be free and go out and enjoy ourselves.
And we won't take the little simple things for granted again. Like, that's the beauty of it, you know?
No, exactly. I mean, Ireland is, it's great, and Ireland has done great. I mean, like, we are so lucky.
Yeah, and listen, I'm really looking forward to your premiere of A Girl from Mogadishu, because it was cancelled because of the coronavirus, wasn't it? So we're going to have a really big build-up this time.
Yeah, so it will be sometime in November if things are better. Yeah, end of the year. Yeah.
Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about the film?
So hopefully everybody can go out and, to enjoy themselves, and we will have the premiere again. There's a lot of things has been cancelled.
Okay.
But it's fine, there's a long way to go. Thank you. I think Jim, it's first time I seen him on live here. I know him so long, we are very friendly on Facebook, but I never met him. And of course, I can say that it's been very hard to catch him because we invited a lot of different events, but he offered, if anything he can do for the foundation, he will do it. And I really appreciate you on that. And I think my colleague Leonie will write to you. If she hasn't already, she might write to you and tell you what is the best thing to do for the foundation. And we appreciate that.
And Jim, you have to do a portrait of Ifrah.
Oh.
Maybe wearing the beautiful outfit that you wore on the Tommy Tiernan show. You were just, so powerful, that interview. You had me in tears. I was so moved. And you look so beautiful.
Thank you.
It was very moving. Yeah. Really extraordinary, huh? Yeah, it's really beautiful. You looked fantastic. So do you want to tell us a story about the film maybe and how it came about? Because it's an amazing achievement, Ifrah, to have a story made about you when you're only 33 years of age. That's what I got to remind myself. You're such a trailblazer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I think it's great the way things has changed the world and how people are connected through Zoom call and Skype and all that is amazing. Basically, how the movie came up is I did a different documentary with different women's and also the United Nations. Okay. So there was a lady. She's from originally from Sweden. She was doing a documentary called "Too Much Cut" for United Nations for refugees.
Mm-hmm.
She flew from Geneva, and actually I took part for 4 different women's group who've been interviewed.
Okay.
So on my interview, the lady keep saying me, because I was talking about how I started the campaign here in Ireland, and I remember the lady was saying, "Listen, there's this guy, he does it, he train young African filmmakers, and he does in what they call in Cannes, during the Cannes Film Festival. So she said, I would love to invite you there because there will be a lot of different filmmakers and, you know, writers and all that. So I took the offer. So I flew to Cannes because of the lady. I remember how I met with Mary Mugagian because of the lady, and also how we met was very funny way, because we were all sitting on a table having a dinner, and she luckily been sitting on front of me, and we exchanged if I was a filmmaker, if I was a producer. So I could not answer all her questions about being a filmmaker or even producer. So I remember she asked me, where you from? And I say, I'm from Ireland. And say, what? Yeah, I say, I'm from Drumcondra. And then she said to me, oh, I'm from Ireland. And I remember exchanging and, you know, telling that I was Irish and I had my Irish passport and all that. So that's how I meet with Mary. And then she asked me how I get involved. I mean, being in a Cannes Film Festival, even if I wasn't a filmmaker or producer or actor or whatever. So I have to explain about what I do. And Mary was actually thinking, and she said, I'm not sure, but let's see if there's anything I can do. And I can't promise, because, you know, when we talk about subject of female genital mutilation, is a very strong subject. And again, you can understand women who is from refugee background, especially country like Somalia. People will think, you know, telling them that you're going to make a film or a story about the, you know, young African Irish or whatever. So Mary actually said she's not sure, but she will see what she can do and all that. And, you know, all her hope, she kept it, and she did really well. And there it is now, a girl from Mogadishu, where we had a lot of premiere in different countries. And now it was supposed to be released in Ireland and the UK and USA, but the issue that because of the corona, it didn't happen. But hopefully there will be some date again to be released. So that's how I know how I get the movie to be done.
That's a great story. It's really amazing. And I have to say, it was such an honor to premiere the promo film onto the GPO during the 2020 Herstory Light Festival.
Yeah.
Amazing. Just beautiful to see there in lights, you know, really powerful. Because the work you're doing is so important. I think when we met, I said that to you, you know, when you find you have a quiet moment for the last few years, FGM is one of those issues that always bubbles up from my subconscious. It's always on my mind. We have to do work in this area. We have to, you know, really focus on this. I can't even begin to imagine, you know. So we're really here, you know, Herstory very much support in any way we can. I know your story is up on the Herstory website, and your story is part of our schools workshops now. There was 1,800 downloads of those workshops.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you.
The last few months. So I hope loads of children across Ireland are reading your story, because it just shows you what's possible, you know. And when I met you as well, if I have to say, like, your presence is extraordinary. Like, you've got such a beautiful, graceful presence for somebody who's been through so much, you know, to have come through and healed. You know, it's a beautiful thing to witness, you know, it has to be acknowledged. Really spectacular.
No, I mean, you see, this is the reality. I came to Ireland as a refugee. I was so lucky because I wasn't living in direct vision. And also when I hear, what's her name? The first speaker,
Ellie.
Ellie, she was talking about direct vision. I was just saying myself, thank God that I was so lucky to become a refugee within 6 months. And, you know, it's very hard. I mean, like, we all as a refugee have a different story on being in Ireland. So it's really hard what's happening in direct vision. But at the same time, I was like, you know, I was so lucky that I wasn't last long. So,
and that's great to hear the positive stories as well, because I know with the Irish people, like, we're very triggered by direct provision, because for us, the Magdalene laundries, it's almost like the Magdalene laundries of our generation. It's like we haven't learned the lessons And in a way, the Catholic Church was a power unto itself, but our elected representatives have created this system, which is deeply disturbing, and we all feel very strongly about it. But it's great to hear that you had a positive experience, that you feel really welcome here. You're getting a lot of support.
I mean, like, I think Ireland can do better, because Ireland being also immigrated and back in 100 years, and I think everybody has a common understanding, and I think we can only blame the political, because political is one is the political are making it correct, then is when the problem is there. And I'm sure Ireland is a great country, and they can do better, and they will.
We do, and the people are.
No, really. I mean, like, and there are a lot of people who are working on in terms of direct provision, and the good thing, Irish media also is great. We don't have a negative apart of people being in direct provision, and I think Ireland is great, and they can make a difference. I was watching when the corona break, Portugal, because they give all the refugees citizenship, so they can access in medical in case they have corona and they don't tell, so they can they can contract to somebody else. And so everybody was given citizenship, where people were given the freedom of being, if they get the virus, they can access medical. But I hear a story about indirect provision, people saying that it was bad because there was a direct provision, they contracted on corona and the treatment was so. I think Ireland can do better now. We're coming out of it, but as science is saying that it might come back, the virus, I am sure Ireland will think twice on those people in direct provision and make a better life for them.
And it's great to hear the story about Portugal then, because we need examples like this to be able to take to the government to say, look, this is how other countries are treating refugees,
They did, because, and that is the reality, because for example, if I was asylum and I was not having a right to access any medical and I get sick, there is no way I will present myself in anywhere, because my next question in my head, it will be, I will be sent back to Africa. So people, they just scare and they don't want to go out or tell anybody. So that is, but hopefully, they will, I'm sure. And I seen a lot of people, they were talking about, even during the lockdown, everybody was speaking out.
And that's the great thing, I think, about the lockdown, is that because everybody's had to slow down, and we've had to take a good hard look at I suppose ourselves and also our country, and we're seeing the cracks and our blind spots. And these are things that, say, for example, domestic violence is something that is often avoided. It's a very difficult issue for people. I know the chair of our board is the CEO of Safe Ireland, Sharon O'Halloran. It's very challenging to get support for domestic violence. And it's terrible to think that it takes a pandemic to actually finally get the spotlight on this issue. But it's finally getting the attention it needs, because we need to change this. Like, what's normalized in terms of the treatment of women is just horrendous, and it doesn't have to be this way, But the great thing is, I suppose, in Ireland, the rate of change is so fast. Like, we never thought that those referendums were going to happen, and to landslide victories. So I'm really excited about the future.
That is why I say Ireland, they can do better.
Yeah, because the people are better, Our government have to catch up. They're about 10 years behind us, I think. Yeah, but we're getting there, huh? Yeah. Magic. So listen, I'll tell you about a new project that I'm working on. I don't know when we met, did I tell you that I actually did my degree thesis on deconstructing colonial ideologies and racial stereotyping, and it was such an emotional whirlwind of an experience to study, very close to my heart, having had such a wonderful experience of multiculturalism growing up. Like, I went to this fabulous school where there was 21 nationalities, 6 different continents represented, like in the middle of nowhere in rural Ireland. Like, so from the age of 15, like, multiculturalism was normal to me, And I lived in London and Paris, and we'd have huge picnics, and it was like the United Nations. We'd collect nationalities, and a melting pot of wonderful perspectives and stories. And so I just had to do this thesis, because I suppose we're early in a post-colonial era, and we're seeing the rise of the far right across Europe. But the beautiful thing is, in Ireland, we saw with our recent election, we voted against the far right, and we effectively silenced those politicians with with those toxic ideologies. But when I was doing my thesis, I wanted to do a creative project because I was in art college, and I was so shocked, I suppose, by the psychology of how this othering was constructed, you know, how the racial stereotyping was constructed, because, you know, with us being Irish as well, we were colonized for 800 years, so it's very close, this story, for us too. So I couldn't think of a creative project, but now we're finally going to do it. We're teaming up at the moment with countries in, well, Egypt, Palestine, the Czech Republic, Slovenia. That's the first phase of the project. And what we're going to do is we're going to parallel stories. So sister stories together of women, an emigrant and an immigrant, connected by common humanity. So you haven't met Mary Harney yet, but she's the next speaker tonight, and you've got loads in common. And I'm really looking forward to you meeting her in the flesh, because you both endured really difficult childhoods and then went on to become these wonderful activists. And she emigrated. Mary, you know, survived an industrial school in Ireland. She'll share her story shortly. And then she emigrated to the US, where she became an academic and activist. And you left Somalia, came to Ireland and became an activist and a trailblazer. So I'm really looking forward to you meeting her in the flesh. But this is a new project that we're working on. I'm in the middle of writing a funding application, which is taking up my whole life. There's like 7 applications within an application. You know what this is like when you're running a nonprofit, right? It's so much work, but we're getting there. And I'm really excited to share this project with you. It'll take about 3 years. We'll do lots of different activities around it. But I suppose we really want to show, you know, the common humanity between people, and also the double standards in the treatment of people, you know. So me being Irish, you know, I traveled on this like dream passport. I was an emigrant and an immigrant for 7 years. Had a wonderful experience abroad. Wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now without having been to Kenya, to Paris, to London. I studied in the UK. But I get treated, you know, and I've got opportunities being European as well that others don't get. So this is what we're up to. It's our new project. So
that's really amazing. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to it too. Yeah.
You should talk a little bit about Somalia and Ireland, the relationship in those two countries.
Oh,
there is
yeah.
so much on it.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay, so we'll have to continue this conversation.
Mary Robson was the first person when the famine began in Somalia to raise awareness.
Yeah.
Nathan Hagen, our president, was the second person who been to Somalia during the famine. And then also there are a lot of other people who are doing well, like Dominic from Concern. He was in Somalia back in 1991 or 1990. So there is a little connection between Ireland and Somalia.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, this conversation has to be continued. We'll do that. That's amazing. Thank you, Ifrah. Wonderful. Okay. So I think I'm going to have to say good night for now. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you'll stay tuned in now you'll get to meet Mary anyway, at least.
Yeah.
You'll get to meet her and then hopefully meet her in person, because you two, you've got so much, you know, in common, and I'm so inspired by the two of you. Like, you're just absolute trailblazers, really extraordinary women. So thank you for everything that you do. It's so important.
I look forward to the speech.
Yeah. And I can see there, Jim said now he's definitely going to do a portrait of you.
Oh, that's great.
No better woman.
Thanks, Jim. Bye.
Thanks, Ifrah. Okay, fantastic. Let's talk to wonderful Mary Harney. Oh, you can't hear me. Hello, Mary. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
I'm good, Melanie. How's yourself?
God, it's been a while, Mary. Yeah.
A long time, yes.
Yeah. There you go. So did you get to hear Ifrah's story there?
Oh, my goodness. The courage and...
The two of you, yeah.
This is the beauty of, you know, young people coming up behind us, old activists. You know, they are carrying on. They are investigating things we never even dreamed of.
Yeah.
You know, the abuses that are happening in other countries that would not have crossed our minds, you know. We knew nothing. And so this is creating a whole new human rights dimension in the world where we all join, no matter what our ages are, and we all work towards human rights for all people. Yeah.
Oh, Mary, it's so powerful. Thank you. You can see the bigger picture there. It's lovely to capture that moment.
Yes. I'm currently working on my thesis. And on Thursday, my group project for my human rights clinic, we're launching a website which will enable the survivors of Ireland's industrial schools and reformatory schools. It will help them to access the documents of their identity, their personal identity, which are removed from them. You know, when I was born, my mother's name was changed, my name was changed. Women had their names changed simply because they were unmarried mothers. We created a system of containment for the first 16 and a half years of my life. I was part of that contained system. So when people talk about direct provision and the not being able to move freely or eat when you want to eat or cook your own food or be, I understand what's happening inside the soul, how that can easily wear down emotions and spirits. But look at Ellie. Look at it. You know, this is the spark of humanity, the pilot light, I call it, that keeps on reigniting to say, no, you know, we are the power. We are the women that have the power, and we're going to use it for good. And that for me is so heartening at my age to see young people being out there to do this. But at the same time, it's such a sorrow that we have to start this all over again, that we have to. You mentioned, you know, direct provision being like Magdalene Lawney. The culture is the same. And I mentioned, you know, Ireland can do better. Of course it can, but it doesn't. We have an abysmal record on human rights. We have a whole generation of disappeared children who do not know that they're from Ireland, who do not know that their mothers were Irish, who do not know who those mothers are. We have burial grounds in Ireland that hold the dumped, just thrown in cadavers of children, of women with no identity. And so my thesis at the moment is all about the human right to a personal identity, to know your origins and the truth of that. And Ireland is still denying thousands of its own citizens the right to know that. For what? It's crazy, but it appears to be about power.
Abuse of power.
The reason not to tell, not to allow a child to seek its birth mother, not to allow a mother to look for her child, not to know where your child was buried, not to know why your child died in an institution. Yet Ireland, despite the Convention on Torture, saying that, yes, Ireland, you tortured women and children. Shape up and do something. You know, you must address these. But the Irish government is still putting people through this emotional torture by the denial of the human right to identity, to know your origins, to know where your children are buried. To, you know, we talked about the myths of Ireland and the culture of Ireland and the importance of the sacred burials. And I think it was Jim that emphasized, you know, the connection of the St. Anne's Wells and the system of prayer flags and hope, you know, and yet for some unknown reason, because there does not appear to be a valid reason. People talk about privacy and the right to privacy. Yes, there is that right too, but it can be balanced.
Yeah.
It can be balanced. If a mother does not want her child to find her, then she can let that be known. But a blanket denial from consecutive governments of Ireland. Here I am, 71 years of age, and we're still fighting the battle to find out where children have been dumped in unmarked graves. And Ireland was a Catholic country when this happened. The power of the church was greater than the power of the state. And this term at college, my current master's thesis, we formed Maeve O'Rourke, Dr. Maeve O'Rourke, who's a human rights lawyer, has created the most amazing clinic, and our projects are dealing with, we have a group dealing with MASA, direct provision, environmental issues, historical abuses, Magdalene laundries, and Elizabeth Coppin's story going before the International Human Rights Courts. And so together, these young people blow me away. Because they're the power, they're the hope of the future. That
Mary, you've got the power and you've got the courage, you know, like yourself and Jim, your generation, still full of fire. Come on now, I've had many a cup of tea with you now for hours and hours, fueling me with stories of Gráinne Mhaol. Mary and I, we share a love of Gráinne Mhaol because she was a pirate and a diplomat.
Yes.
What a skill set. That's my
heroines are Queen Elizabeth I and Gráinne Mhaol.
Yes.
I know they're polar opposites, but I love them. And I love the rebel in Gráinne Mhaol. And Jim and I, yes, we keep on keeping on because we can't stop. We can't let this continue. And so it's up to us too, to guide younger people, you know, coming in when young lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender people talk about their rights. We can tell them, I can tell them, I trailblazed that path for you. And the same with people living with HIV/AIDS. You know, we trailblazed those paths, and we're still involved today. And it's because of the folk that are coming up, like Ifrah and Ellie and Farah Elle. The beautiful music is power. It's all power, and I love it all.
Sure, Mary, we love you too. And did I tell you that your story is the second most read story on Herstory website?
Sure.
Hundreds and hundreds. Nearly 1,000 people have read your story last year alone.
Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Really, but it really captures people's imagination. It's so beautifully written as well. And what I love about you, Mary, is that you've had such a life of hardship, and yet you're so full of joy and hope and inspiration, and you've never lost your spirit or your fire. You never let them break you.
No, and that's one of the secrets too. I think that that's when we allow others to win, have power over us. That's when the right wing can raise its head, when we give in, when we lie down and say, no, we can't do anymore. So we can't stop. But, you know, I'm looking forward to today when I can seek out Ellie's food, because I haven't been staying away from donuts while I've been cooking.
But the last time I saw you, we made a beautiful feast, didn't we?
Yes, and
hours. It was fabulous. Yeah.
I just adore that the young people at the college, you know, when I talk with the likes of my colleague Kelly Ledoux and Cassie Molyneux and Pio and all the young people at college, they have just so much energy and so much power, and they're going to keep on. And, you know, when I totally agree with Ifrah, Ireland can do better. and she must do better. She must.
Yeah.
And we have to keep on pricking her to say, get on with it.
Raise your game, keep raising your game. The momentum is huge, isn't it? Do you feel that after those 2 referendum, like?
Yes.
You know, I mean, even like I'm looking back, Herstory wouldn't have worked 10 years ago. It wouldn't have had the traction that it's had. And then even to look to the north as well, how they've held the peace.
Yes. Yes.
Even with Brexit, you know, it was terrible.
Yeah. And, you know, I emigrated to America at a time when I went to the little town that I went to live in. It took me 2 weeks to realize that I was uncomfortable for 2 weeks and I couldn't figure out what it was. And then I realized I had come from London, from a multicultural, diverse city to an all-white town, and it just blew me away. I couldn't figure it out.
Wow.
In America, in an all-white, practically all-white town, that's changed too today, you know, but the wonderful, I think staying young with young people, joining hands and saying, teach me and I'll teach you. And we join together, we learn from each other. And keeping a sense of humor keeps you young. But I marvel at the energy that continues with young people. And I'm so proud to be a part of tonight's group, because it, you know, as I write my thesis, I sometimes begin to think, will the government ever understand that they're abusing human rights every single day when they refuse to give people the right to access their own personal identity?
It's an abomination.
It is. And, you know, and that is why we allow direct provision, the same reason. We contain women and children at a rate that for a small country is absolutely outrageous.
Yeah.
We have a hopeless record when it comes to women and children in Ireland. And I'm so glad that Ifrah is speaking out, and I'm so glad about her movie, and I'm so glad that everyone is here to share this. And for you, Melanie, for giving me the opportunity. And I spoke with Elaine Cosgrove.
Oh, how is she?
She's fine. She's happily married in Georgia, America, and she sends her love. And I am very frightened about the upcoming election in November.
Yeah.
Right wing is on the rise in America. We have never seen before.
Yep. It's really, these are very, very triggering times for everybody, I think, you know.
Yeah.
I suppose I'm looking back at my thesis, because I did it on, you know, the early days of post-colonialism and how we deconstruct racial stereotyping, deconstruct the ideologies that create the othering. And when you learn where they come from, I mean, I actually got insomnia for 2 weeks writing my thesis. I was so disturbed. And my lecturer gave me a book. He said, you got to get your hands on this book. I couldn't believe it. They were the racial stereotyping long before, you know, photography was invented. Illustrations by the British Empire. And they were categorized by different skin colors. And then there was a category, white, racial stereotypes. And they were the Irish in every primate and monkey species. The only difference between us and the African racial stereotyping is that we had leprechaun suits on.
Yes.
And it sounds absurd now, but it worked, you know?
Yeah.
So dark, so sinister. But the great thing is, what I'm hopeful about is that as the shadow emerges, we process through it faster, and that we rise up. Like the day after Trump got into power, we had the biggest women's marches that ever happened in the world. 80 million women marched, 60 countries or 60 million women in 80 countries. Yeah. That never happened before on that scale ever before. We have Me Too, we have Time's Up. We have children marching every single Friday thanks to Trump. So as the shadows, as the darkness rises, we're processing through it. And the silence, the women and the children are rising up. They're rising up to counteract that darkness.
Yes.
You see, like my little sisters went to their first march. They could hardly walk, the little size of them. I didn't go to my first march until I was in my 20s. They're so politically activated. Like my godson had a fully formed opinion on Donald Trump the day he got into power. I think he was 7 years old at the time. They're so political, like, you know, they really know their stuff, and they have to know their stuff because they are ultimately being handed a shitstorm.
Yes.
But they're a great generation. I'm really excited about, especially the under 21s. Like, I mean, we think my generation's progressive. These next guys. Ooh.
I love being with the young people in my classes because whenever I get to the point where I begin to feel, oh God, will we ever get there? I watch their energy, I watch their enthusiasm, watch their commitment, and I think, yeah, we'll get there.
And probably faster than we realise as well. I think that's the beautiful thing about the rate of change in Ireland is, like, I never could have dreamed it would be so fast. Like, we're in a golden age, and it feels like we're just warming up too. It's just a pity. Like, I loved when I lived in Paris, and like every weekend I would cycle into a different march. The French, they have their demonstrations, and they get what they want. Like, you know, ever since Marie Antoinette and King Louis lost his head, you know, that's it. You know, they crack the whip. So it's great to see more Irish people marching and exercising their activism.
Their political rights. Yeah.
Yeah, the political rights. Exactly. You said it. Their rights. Ultimately, it is their rights. Yeah.
And we're born with those rights. People think that they have to do something to get them, but they don't. We are born with our human rights. It is our birthright. Every child in the world is entitled simply by being born to a personal identity, a nationality, and a culture. It is the right of every child, yet we have countries denying those rights on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You know, why do you have to have a passport? Why can't you travel the world free?
I know. We're a privileged few, aren't we?
Melanie, get rid of the passports.
Yeah. Oh. Listen, I think we could talk all night, but I think we're going to have to go on to the next speaker. But let's catch up soon, yeah?
Yes.
Properly. Let's have a good call and catch up. But I want to share the new project that we're working on with you, because I'd love to feature your story as part of it. Yeah. And I want you to meet Ifrah as well, because you've got so much in common. Your stories are like parallel. You're like sisters who haven't met yet.
Yes. What did somebody once say? A stranger's just a friend you do not know.
Yeah. You said it, yeah. So beautiful. Gorgeous, Mary. Thanks so much for your time. And for your wisdom and your honesty. Oh, and your fire. Respect. Thank you, Mary. Lots of love. So next up we have the wonderful Mimi Malabar, who's an incredibly gifted spoken word artist. I hope she's still with us. Is she there? Caitlin Hannah. Is Mimi with us? Okay, Mimi isn't here. So can I welcome Miss Mercal to the stage, the virtual stage. Hi. Claire, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
You're Claire to me, honey.
That's fine. I can be both.
So normally it's only the privileged few that get to actually hear you perform on Clare Island as part of the Bard Mythology Summer School.
Yeah. You're
my Bard buddy, my fellow mischief maker.
Oh no, I'm very sad that we won't be there in person this year, but it'll make
the incredible Bard Mythology. They're running an amazing 3-month immersion for anybody that's watching tonight who's interested in hearing more of the stories. Check out bardmythologies.com. They are keeping the flame alive. They are the wisdom keepers of our generation. This is about reactivating a second Celtic revival. We're all in this grand plot together. Those stories shall be reignited. So Claire joins us over from the UK, and we have our own rapper, in-house rapper at the park. Like, it is like, what a blessing, Claire. We're so gifted to have you. You're an extraordinary talent, and you're so full of insight and wisdom and pure fire too. Fire is definitely the theme for tonight. Did I show you? I have to show you my boots in your honor.
Oh wow, they are epic.
Yeah. When I worked in advertising, actually, when I was in London, they were my office shoes. They're not fancy dress at all, but I wore them in your honor tonight because you're all warriors, the lot of you. I'm so inspired. So tell us, Claire, what are you going to perform? Huh?
So I'm going to perform a song called Wondering. It's just a little bit about my take on life, what I think about things. I must give a shout out to the producer of the beats. The beat is made by someone called P739, and you can find him on SoundCloud. He makes a plethora of music from drum and bass to hip hop. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be performing for you this evening.
Oh, what a treat. Thank you, Claire. Miss Mercal, over to you.
No worries. Thank you for having me. Ooh, 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 ooh. Living life got me wondering. Living life got me wondering. Living life got me wondering. Oh, oh, oh. Living life got me wondering. Yeah, living life got me wondering. So many people, no connection. Day-to-day apathy has got me vexing. Attention can't be spent on one fatter than the next thing. Don't forget to Insta, Facebook, check that, and you're checked in. I don't crave your social media attention. Prefer to relate face to face. I care to mention what I'm craving is a real human affection, like back in the day when there was less pretending. So come slip inside the eye of my mind. Don't you fall behind. There you will find the daily grind has gotten so mundane lately. Why don't you come and save me? Living life got me wondering. Living life got me wondering. Oh, oh. Living life got me wondering. Yeah, living life got me wondering. I don't need to be saved. I don't need to learn how to behave. I just need you. I need you to believe in me. Trust me, I'm a prophecy of failure, self-perpetuating nature, hypocrisy, hater, philosophy player, following fate, the sarcastic slayer. Can't wait to make irate all the naysayers. I don't need money in my life, I need meaning, something to fight for, something to believe in. I said, I don't need money in my life, I need meaning. Something to fight for, something to believe in. Living life got me wondering. Living life got me wondering. Living life got me wondering. Oh, oh. Living life got me wondering. Yeah, living life got me wondering. So this is the start of something new. I believe in myself, a self that is true. There is no meaning in life in a job or a role. Nor can another person make you feel whole. We are who we are, that's the beauty inside. It's the secret of life that we carefully hide. Yeah, I'm telling it right. It's the secret of life that we carefully hide. We're human and frail. We try and we fail. We tell untrue tales and we cry and we wail. These things are inevitable, not to be stopped. We're on another level when the ego is dropped. When the ego is dropped, vanity put to a stop. Humanity rise to the top. United together we cream of the crop. Ooh, living life got me wondering. Ooh, living life got me wondering. Ooh. Thank you.
Oh, that was amazing. You're such an incredible talent. Miss Mercal. We're absolutely blessed to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute.
Yeah, we love what you were saying there about the vanity, and then when vanity drops, humanity will rise. And I have this theory about selfies and the narcissism pandemic, that it's just as bad as coronavirus in a way. It's funny what we put emphasis on, isn't it? Like, it's really back to what matters.
I mean, social media is a fantastic thing and it's a great tool, but I also think it's very damaging, and I also think it's very damaging for people to only post things when they're feeling good, because it gives a really false perspective. And especially artists and performers, I think that you should say, like, I've suffered with depression on and off from a very young age. I was diagnosed with it at the age of 14. And I think it's really important for people to share these stories, that they have been at the depths of despair and suicidal, and that they have got through it. I could post a picture every day of myself looking great and feeling fantastic, but that's not the true thing of what's going on. That's not my reality. And I think it's important that people really share that. And, this thing about what Mary was saying about why do we need a passport? I think that's another really important point. Like, there should be no borders and there should be no masters. We are all equal, and you should be able to travel freely where you want to go. And it's a sad fact. And this thing of the far right becoming more prevalent is very, very sad. I mean, I saw a Tory thing for the last election, and it said education is a privilege and not a right. And that is absolutely disgusting. Eton School is not going to open until September, but they want the other schools to open in June. So let's the poor children go back to school and see if they get ill. But if you go to a private school, it won't be opened until September. And that really shows you there that there is a massive inequality and injustice, and people need to fight for that.
No, you're so spot on, Claire. And what you're saying about the far right, I'm prepping this huge funding application based on this theme about migration. And I going back to my love of the National Geographic, and they created a series of very powerful maps that track human migration, the early human migration, before the wheel was ever invented. We were traversing every continent. I mean, migration is one of the few constants of the human experience, and we use diversity as a modern buzzword. It's not.
Yeah,
it's completely normal. We're hardwired to migrate. Of course, there's a big difference between forced migration, which is the experience of refugees, versus for us it's a privilege and a joy to travel. Yeah, so there are so many inequalities, and I hear you. Like, we have to give voice to the realities of the experience that we're living in, and talking to people about their experience of the pandemic. I don't know anybody who hasn't had a bad day. And we're all sharing that. We're looking out for each other, I find, more than we ever have. And really
some people are experiencing their first sort of experience of poor mental health, through the pandemic as well. And I think also another important thing is, if you come from any point of privilege, whether that's white privilege or gender privilege, you should really take that point and speak up against the inequality that's there. A lot of people find these things uncomfortable, but they're a fact of life at the end of the day,
You have to be brave and bold, huh?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sparking our fire with that incredible song. You're something else here.
Thank you very much.
On the Bard, then I'll see you on Saturday.
Yeah, Wednesday as well.
Wednesday. Oh, looking forward to it. Fantastic. Yeah. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you for having me so much.
You're a rock star.
Take care.
Is she here? Just to give Caroline an intro, she's the migrant
women's hi.
And she's worked at AkiDwA since 2009. She's 15 years experience working on integrated health programs for women in rural Kenya. And she's got a master's degree in philosophy and a PhD in international peace studies from Trinity College Dublin. Wow, Caroline. We're all underqualified in comparison. You're wonderful.
Oh no,
So-
don't say that. Yeah.
Great to
Thank
see
you, Mary Harney, for having me here
Oh, thank you for joining us.
and for putting together this. And sorry, I had to go
Okay.
a while back, and I came back when Mary was talking. She was halfway through, I think.
Lovely, yeah. So you've heard a lot of the stories.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's interesting.
Good. Okay. Fantastic. Brilliant.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us your story? Because I haven't got to talk to you yet in person. I've only met Salome.
Oh yeah,
So
God, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so me, I came to Ireland in the year 2007.
Okay.
That will be 13 years ago this September. And I came to study, and I was coming here for a short while, then go back to Kenya. But I am still here.
Really?
13 years later, I am still here.
Wow. And why did you choose to stay?
Like things happened. When I finished my program in Trinity in 2016, then I had to graduate. I had a job. I was looking for a job in Kenya. I thought it was going to happen very quickly. It still has not happened. And so I'm here.
And we're very lucky to have you because you're doing amazing work with AkiDwA.
Yeah, thank you very much, Melanie.
Really amazing.
Yeah, AkiDwA is a great place to work, and like it's really the values of AkiDwA, what AkiDwA stands for. It really ties in with so many things which I believe in. Yeah.
And next year you're celebrating your 20th anniversary.
Yes, we are. We are celebrating our 20th anniversary very soon, and you're all welcome.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it because Salome emailed me. We're going to do a collaboration, a big party.
Yeah, you're all welcome, and it will be beautiful. We are going to kick everything out of the park. It will be a great success.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Really powerful. Yeah. Fantastic. So tell me about the work you're doing at AkiDwA at the moment. How can we support it more? Are there any challenges you're facing?
Okay, how the work of AkiDwA can be supported. First, I'll start by saying that I'm the Migrant Women Health Coordinator. Yeah. And people who know AkiDwA, like our flagship project, and what we are known for is the issue of female genital mutilation. Okay. I want to say that female genital mutilation is a very, very hidden issue. Because not unless a woman is written here across the face that she has been cut, you cannot tell. And I am also conscious of the fact that many people heard about the case, which was before the court a while ago, and the judgment was sometime this year in February. And of that little girl who was hurt, who was subjected to FGM. So, like how the work of AkiDwA can be supported is to create more space for women who are coming from communities where FGM is prevalent. Because FGM, as a form of violence against women, you'll find that where it is very prevalent, it is not seen as a form of violence. It is seen as a rite of passage. But from our education in AkiDwA and even from other literature, it's a harmful rite of passage. It's not just something which is benign, but it hurts women, and the consequences of FGM are lifelong, and they last a whole life. And women who have been subjected to FGM, they need a lot of support throughout their lives. So supporting those women, also supporting the work of AkiDwA, even sometimes even just by turning up for our meetings and conferences, because we hold conferences a lot, and and listening to what we are saying, what the women are saying themselves, getting the message from the horse's mouth, that will really be helpful to us. And we also have women like who need support in areas like which some people may not like even imagine. Maybe sometimes what a woman needs is just someone to talk to, and so even just creating that space, even when you meet somebody, even just to listen to her story, to listen to what she has to say, that will be very, very helpful. And also, so as you can imagine, like AkiDwA, what you do, even financially, mostly we are stretched for funds. So like we even really made like some donations here and there. And on our website we have a donation we have provided for where people who wish to donate can donate. And but one thing I can say is that there's so much people can do for organizations like us who are dealing with migrants who are settled, going through difficult challenges, and also who are in the direct provision centers, also going through extremely difficult situations, and especially now during COVID-19. And so on top of that, I've talked about FGM. It's also like about also the mental health issues of women who are coming from who are in the DPs, and also who are settled again. Because right now I know there's this surge of domestic violence in homes because women are locked in with men or with whoever, and it's very, very difficult for them to escape because somehow there's nowhere to go. Most refugee centers are closed. But we also have to know that what's happening in the DP centers where there are women who even in what we may call peacetime, their situation is precarious. So just imagine what is happening to them now. So we need to highlight the situation of such women who are living in such places, because I feel their voice is not being amplified at all. Nobody is talking about what's happening to those women, and even what is happening to girls who might be subjected to FGM at this time. Nobody is talking about that. We need to talk about those girls, because in other times, like, girls are going to school, so anybody who may want to subject a girl to FGM might be scared. Someone might be like, when this girl goes to school tomorrow, someone will notice that she's not in the best of health, or she might tell somebody. But at this time, because of these restrictions, and there's that legal backing that someone has to stay in, so we just need to imagine what could be happening to girls in their own homes. And as you know, and I just want to say that FGM is also one of those things, like if and when a girl is subjected to, it's very, very unlikely that she will report, because it's done by people she trusts, and those are her parents and people she loves and she trusts. So anyway, so you just need to be very vigilant and to be supportive. Thank you very much, Melanie.
It's good to know. Yeah, it's really important that you're here speaking for them as well, because we don't hear their voices. It's horrendous, you know. And I mean, I was there at the first day of Africa Rising. And I was the only Irish person there, and I just stayed silent and I listened to hear all the stories, and you know, those voices, those women have been very much an inspiration for the new project that we're developing. And that will be a platform for them to share their stories too, you know, and to develop. Talking to Salome as well, she said that there's a great opportunity for people who have trained skills in facilitation to help the women upskill, whether that's dressmaking, seamstress work. But also, I think for their health too, whether it's yoga or dance or meditation, you know,
anything.
Facilitators. So it's really important. I said, Salome, please reach out the next time and tell me when you need facilitators too, because we can do an open call. Because what
we'll
you're doing
reach out to Melanie. Yeah, because right now we have another project for women. We want them to start making masks because of COVID-19, so that they can give back to their community. But the women also want to do other things. They want to do other things like making hair, plaiting, and because they've come here with those skills. Some of them had salons in Africa, and they are willing to showcase what they know. And
Okay. That's good to know. So we continue this conversation going forward.
Please.
And do send us a list, and we'll do an open call, because you know, it'd be great to have some of these opportunities lined up for the women as soon as the lockdown lifts, you know. But also what we can do during the lockdown too, are there ways that we can do workshops online as well to support them, how we can connect with them. Please do. This is going to be a big theme for us going forward, for the next
I'll do
3
that,
years.
Melanie. We'll do that. Yeah, we'll do that. And thank you
my
so
heart
much
is that, like,
for being so encouraging. Yeah.
yeah. No, but I have
Thank you.
huge respect for what you do. You've no idea. It's really
Oh,
powerful.
thank you very
Like,
much.
as
Yeah,
women, like, you have so much energy and
yeah,
enthusiasm.
yeah, we don't hear that enough. Thank you.
Reading Salome.
Yeah. Thank you very
She's
much.
something else. You're
Yeah.
fantastic, you know. And I tell you, I don't know how you haven't gone back to Kenya, because that's where I wanted to live, you know. Funny, and I was waiting for the right job opportunity as well, but that was my grand plan. I had a really grand experience there. It's greatly influenced the work that I'm doing. So it's such
Yeah, you're doing great work.
everything.
Yeah.
Like, people are so alive. The food tastes better. Like, a banana from the tree tastes like banoffee pie. The sound.
Yeah.
I mean, looking back to Ireland, everything felt dull, nearly, you know.
Yeah.
Lifeless,
Yeah.
you know. So
I
yeah,
know.
it's very spectacular
Yeah.
country.
So thank you very much, Melanie, for having me. And so sorry I had to go somewhere at that time. Yeah, thank you.
That's okay. Well, I'm looking forward to meeting you in person soon.
Me too. Yeah, me too. I'm so looking forward to meeting you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Caroline. Have a lovely evening.
Bye.
Yeah.
You too. Have a lovely evening and good night.
Great.
Thank you very much for putting this. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Oh,
Bye.
no, my pleasure. Thank you. Okay, so I think it's a wrap, because we've gone well over schedule with all the different technical difficulties. I hope everybody tuning in who's still with us had a wonderful evening. Thanks for your time. A lot of voices and stories that we need to hear, that we need to space and time to. It's marginalised, often marginalised voices. There's so much wisdom and fire and inspiration. And even have a huge influence on me in the work that we're doing in Herstory. So on Herstory's 4th birthday, I want to say a big shout out to Kate and Hannah, our tech wizard, researcher extraordinaire, and project manager, for doing an amazing job. And Fiona, our incredible project manager in Northern Ireland, she pulled off the most stunning program, the Light Festival, earlier this year. And when the lockdown just announced, we were actually supposed to launch Peace Heron exhibition this moment. So I'm really looking forward to that happening when the restrictions are lifted. It'll be a really beautiful moment. To Deirdre, our press officer, to Emma and Andy, who are tuning in from the UK, our educational psychologist, and Andy, an amazing teacher, brilliant advisors who co-created the school workshops with us. To Marita, our accountant, to all Herstory's godfathers and godmothers. Special shout out to my mum, the first ever Herstory godmother. I know she's and thanks to all of our speakers in the comments. You've been absolutely amazing. Really, I feel back in my fire now. I'm all queued up to go back and work on this plan probably through the night. But yeah, we might do a few more live events going forward. So Herstory is in a bit of an incubation phase at the moment. We've just wrapped a big production with RTE and FFC and BNI and Underground Films. You can still go on to RTE Culture for the Herstory tab and watch the animations podcast there, grab the TV series. Hopefully we'll go for a second run at some stage. So we're in a dreaming phase at the moment with the project, and we're dreaming of future projects based on the insights that we've been in our experience to date, and lots of funding applications. So if you've got any ideas, if you want to collaborate, please get in contact with the show, reach out, and give love to the Herstory family around the world. Good night.